Who was she? And why did she tremble in the cold desert night? In the windswept silence of the Old West, a young girl appeared on the edge of a cattle trail, barefoot, her dress torn by thorns, her eyes wide with fear. She carried no bag, no weapon, only the hollow look of someone who had seen too much, too young. The coyotes howled in the distance, circling her like shadows of her own despair. The cowboy found her near the embers of his dying fire, shivering, clutching her arms around herself as if the stars above might fall and crush her. He was no stranger to suffering. His ranch had seen droughts, raids, and death. Yet something about this fragile soul struck him deeper than a bullet ever could. Without a word, he pulled off his weather-beaten blanket, warm from his shoulders, and wrapped it around her. But as her eyes lifted to meet his, filled with both fear and fragile trust, a question hung heavy in the air. What horror had driven her into the night? The Old West was alive that night. The crackle of the fire, the creak of the cowboy's saddle, the distant drums of a storm gathering on the horizon. The girl whispered, her voice broken, telling fragments of a story. Men on horseback, a burned cabin, screams swallowed by the wind. The prairie had always held secrets, but this one cut to the bone. The cowboy, hardened by years on the trail, clenched his jaw. He thought of his daughter back home, safe in her small wooden room with the smell of bread baking in the hearth. If this girl's pain was real, and he could see it was, then she was not just another drifter lost to the West. She was a symbol of its cruelty. Yet as the fire burned low, she turned to him and asked in a trembling voice, "Will they find me here?" And the cowboy, though brave, had no answer. By dawn, the cowboy brought the girl to his homestead. His daughter, no older than 17, opened the door and froze. There stood a stranger, wrapped in her father's blanket, eyes red with exhaustion. At first, suspicion clouded her face. Life in the Old West demanded caution, but then she saw the girl's trembling hands and knew. Without hesitation, she led her inside. She gave the girl her own bread, still warm from the oven, and pressed into her hands something even more precious, a small carved wooden cross she had kept since childhood. It was not just wood, it was trust, safety, and belonging in a land that offered none. But as the girl held the gift, a shadow fell across the window, a rider in the distance, watching, waiting. Who was he? The days passed, but peace never lasted long in the frontier. The cowboy noticed tracks in the dust near his ranch, hoof prints, too many for a casual traveler. His cattle stirred uneasily, and at night he thought he heard voices carried by the wind. The girl, though silent, seemed to know something more. Every time the door creaked, she flinched. Old West life was painted with sunsets of gold and storms of blood. The cowboy had seen lawmen fail, towns burn, and families vanish in a single raid. Now he feared the same fate was creeping toward his home. His daughter stayed strong, speaking softly to the girl, braiding her hair, teaching her how to sew by lamplight. A bond was forming, sisters in spirit. But one evening, as the fire crackled, the girl finally spoke the name of her pursuers, and the cowboy felt his blood run cold. Could he protect them against men like that? The cowboy loaded his rifle. He had fought in wars, ridden against bandits, stared down death itself. Yet never before had he felt the weight of 2 young lives depending on him. His daughter asked, "Pa, will they come?" He forced a smile, though he knew the answer. In the West, danger always came. That night, as the wind howled, the girl confessed the truth. Her family had been slaughtered by a gang of ruthless outlaws. She had escaped only because of her innocence, her smallness, her ability to hide in the brush like a frightened deer. But now, they wanted her back. Not for kindness, not for ransom, for something darker. And as she spoke, a single gunshot rang out in the distance. Were the outlaws closer than anyone had feared? The cowboy's ranch became a fortress. He boarded windows, set traps, and kept his rifle within reach at all times. His daughter, though afraid, stood tall. Her mother's strength lived in her. The girl clung to the blanket he had given her, a symbol of protection she desperately needed. The land itself seemed to warn them. The prairie dogs hid, the hawks circled low, the horizon bled crimson with the setting sun. Then came the thunder of hooves. Dust rose, figures appeared, outlaws, rifles slung across their backs, eyes cold as steel. The cowboy gritted his teeth. "Stay inside," he told the girls. But in his heart, he wondered, could one man stand against an army? The night exploded in chaos. Gunfire shattered the silence, echoing through the plains. The cowboy fought like a man possessed, his rifle cracking, his voice a roar in the dark. Inside the cabin, the girls prayed, clutching each other as splinters rained from the walls. But then, a miracle. The girl, once terrified, found her courage. With the cowboy's daughter by her side, she grabbed a lantern and hurled it through the window. Flames erupted, blinding the attackers, sending them into panic. In the smoke and fire, the cowboy struck like a wolf protecting its den. When the dawn finally came, silence returned to the prairie. But one question burned brighter than the sun. Had they truly defeated the outlaws? Or was this only the beginning?